Hello friends, welcome to TechPlus Lab, and today we're going to review a very special earphones from the brand Aiwa, a very nostalgic old brand. And the particular model we're going to take a look at is ESTM-101. I bought these about a year ago and I have been using these very roughly. So I'm going to tell you what's so great and what's not so great about these earphones. So the price of these fluctuate a lot. I bought these for only $180, which is around $3. So definitely keep an eye for the price fluctuations and grab them if you do see them at this price point. Just simply saying, just grab them. So there is something that I need to tell you guys. When you do search about this brand status on any search engine, you're gonna get something about bankruptcy that's been filed by Aiwa Corporation. That is not a global brand. Aiwa Corporation is different from Aiwa Global, which they actually mention on their European site. I think that Aiwa Corporation is actually bought by Sony long time ago. When they dropped everything, the Chicago-based new brand acquired those holdings from Sony. So that's different from Aiwa Global. Aiwa Global is still fine and it's never bankrupt. Also, Aiwa right now is nothing like it was back in the 90s. Back then it has all the high-end equipment and every component in those equipments was actually from Japan, or the whole equipment is actually manufactured in Japan. Its quality is just top-notch. Now they are actually sticking to really simple stuff like speakers and mics, earphones and true wireless stuff, like just these simple gadgets and nothing really groundbreaking. With that being said, let's just get back to the review of these earphones. Let's first talk about the build quality, which is just simply excellent. Earphone shells, mic and the 3.5mm terminal all are made of metal, mostly. The front part of this earphone shell is actually made out of plastic, but it's hard and it's a good idea because that will actually reduce the weight of the earphones. These are still heavy, but talking about the design, I'm not a huge fan of the stem design in earphones, but these don't really bother me much because it's actually slim and sleek. I also do like how they actually managed to put this vent hole in between this groove. This design is excellent because it will prevent the vent hole from blocking when inserted into the ear. And also, since it's situated in this particular groove, it's less likely to get clogged. First glance it might look similar to the other earphones, most familiar ones, but with all these aspects you can actually see how it has its own R&D. The cable quality is decent, but it still has its downsides. Two major issues with cables like these is, first one, if they're made with a cheap clear plastic, they turn out super rigid and very uncomfortable as they tend to keep their shape. The second problem is if they're made with cheap rubber, which turns out gooey and super yellowish over time and is really uncomfortable to touch, and they break down super easily. Fortunately, it doesn't have any of those issues, but the biggest trade-off with this kind of design is it's still not so flexible like the braided cables. I'm not talking about the cheap nylon braided stuff, the actual braided cables. I do think that this cable is still a good choice over the Sony's or Sennheiser's thin cables, which tend to be more usable in a way that they tend to bend into shapes pretty well, but they don't retain that shape, so they're much more usable, but they break down super easily and one of the ears just stop working. This also is a great deal because these are meant to be like a beater earphones where you want to throw them into whatever the bag you want to throw them in, and zips pockets or whatever the heck, and pull them out without worrying about them breaking down. For reference, these have been my sleeping earbuds for so long, and I have been using these under my pillows, under my sheets and even in the washing machine, and they survived all this torture for this long. So when it comes to sound quality, these are okay. These don't win any awards in this particular aspects because these are not really great at anything, at any particular frequencies. These don't shine, but fortunately these don't have any issues like distortion or muddiness in the bass region or excessive treble or anything like that. Sound signature is also not heavily EQ'd, so it's pretty decent for most users. But if you're a bass lover, these are not for you. These do have enough bass for regular users, but definitely not for any bass lovers or bass heads. Also, the mids are very decent here. This is not a steep V shape like the cheap earphones, so they're really good for regular relaxed listening. Treble here is also not that sparkly, but you can't also pick up any details in this region, but overall they don't really disappoint. Expecting details too here is not fair, as getting this kind of sound signature at this price point is not really that easy. So overall, some users might find it not so detailed, although the sound signature is actually clean enough. So if you're okay with that, these are great set of earphones, and don't expect so convenient wearing experience because of that cable, although it will last you for quite a long time. As for the comfort, I do think that these are great initially, but over time sometimes I do like to pull them out and re-insert them. That's not super irritating, but sometimes I do that. But comfort is subjective, so that may not even be the issue for you guys. So overall, unless you're expecting some really rich details out of these are an excellent pair of earphones, especially for some reason you don't want to go with the Chinese brands. So let me know what you think of these earphones in the comment section, and if you did enjoy this video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike, and thank you very much for watching.